My brother, unfortunately, was diagnosed with cancer 3 months ago. And prior to teaching this term, I spent a week up in Boston with him, taking him to the hospital. We had two sets of appointments. This was the first day. It was on a Monday. And he was to see his doctor at the end of that day after a series of tests. And so we walked into a waiting room that was like this. It was crowded. We sat. He finally got called in. We waited. And his appointment was, I think, at 1 o'clock with the doctor. At 3 o'clock, somebody came out and said to him, "I'm very sorry, the doctor is on another side of the campus. He'll be here at 5. So my brother said, I was here all this time. I have cancer. I mean, couldn't you, give me a beeper, or couldn't you do something that I could go down and have coffee? Couldn't you give me a realistic expectation?" None of that. And so I thought to myself, why has this organization failed my brother so miserably? He's somebody with cancer. How did this happen? And yet in the very same week, on Friday, we went to another wing of the hospital. And it's not pictured here because I didn't have a picture of this fellow, but there was actually a guy who looked like a security guard in front of the room, the waiting room, the sort of a lobby area. And he had a little badge, and it said, I don't remember what his name was, but let's say it was Doug, Service Ambassador. So instead of a security guard, he actually was a service ambassador. He greeted my brother and he said, "Here's what you need to do today. You're going to have a test up in this room. But that waiting room is very crowded. So what I'd like you to do is wait down here. It's a much more open area. I'm going to give you this buzzer. And when you're called, you'll be able to go up to the waiting room. You won't have to wait there very long. And then you'll have your appointment. Your brother can come get you. At 2 o'clock, you're going to be back out here. Don't worry. You don't even have to wheel him. We're going to wheel him, et cetera, et cetera." Laid out the whole day. And it followed like clockwork. And that's when I said to myself, it is possible. Organizations can deliver. Organizations can change. But what makes for the difference? What makes for the difference? So that lousy Monday where we waited, and he was so diminished and so depressed. And then the Friday, in which he was greeted by a service ambassador, and everything had gone so well. I said, that's what I want to make happen. And that's what I do in my career. That's what my whole passion is. To close that gap between the way things are and the way things could be in organizations, to make them better places. There's a lot of work in this. There's an entire system that has to be built. There's a discipline. There's detail. What happened on that Friday in the hospital that allowed the service ambassador, the beepers, the attention to detail was entirely different than the Monday because somebody built that division, that organization, to be an entirely different kind of place. I want our organizations to be more like that.